I will speak about the difference between innate and adaptive immunity. So innate and adaptive immunity. Innate immunity and adaptive immunity. What is the difference between them? In innate immunity, it's what? It's a non-specific. Non-specific occurs rapidly, minutes to hours. But there is no memory response. No memory response. So it's what? It's a non-specific, and it's rapidly occurs rapidly, minutes to hours. No memory response. But in adaptive immunity, it's a highly specific, refined over time. So it's a highly specific, plus develops over long periods, and memory response is faster and more robust. So there is what? There is memory responses. There is memory, and it takes long time, a long period, highly specific. So we have innate immunity and we have adaptive immunity. Innate, non-specific, occurs rapidly, no memory response, but the adaptive, highly specific, plus it develops over long period, plus there is memory response. So the mechanism for innate, it's germline encoded, but adaptive, there is what? There is variation through something called recombination, VDJ recombination during lymphocyte development. So we have here, it's germline, innate, it's germline, but here during lymphocyte development there is variation which is called what? VDJ recombination. This is what? This is in adaptive immunity. So what are the components of innate immunity and adaptive immunity? Adaptive immunity, T cells, B cells, circulating antibodies. So adaptive immunity, T cells, B cells, circulating antibodies. But here in innate immunity, neutrophil, macrophage, monocyte, dendritic cells, natural killer cells, lymphoid origin, and also complement physical epithelial barrier, and secreted enzymes. So innate immunity contains what? The components neutrophil, macrophage, monocytes, dendritic cells, natural killer cells, which is lymphoid origin, complement physical epithelial barrier, secreted enzymes. This is called innate. But adaptive, T cell, B cell antibodies, plus the mechanism germline encoded innate immunity, variation through something called the recombination of VDJ recombination during lymphocyte development. So VDJ recombination during lymphocyte development, but innate germline in adaptive, it's a variation VDJ recombination during lymphocyte development. Then response to pathogen, innate non-specific, rapidly, no memory response. But here in adaptive, it's a highly specific, develops over long period, there is memory response. Then the secreted protein. In innate, there is what? Lysozyme, complement C-reactive protein, defenses, and cytokines. But adaptive, immunoglobulin. We are speaking about B cell and antibodies. We have immunoglobulin in adaptive, and cytokines. So secreted proteins in innate, lysozyme, complement, C-reactive protein, defenses, and cytokines. But here in adaptive, immunoglobulins and cytokines. Then we have the most important here. This is called what? Key features in pathogen recognition. So toll-like receptor is the most important here in innate immunity. Toll-like receptor, it's a pattern recognition receptors that will recognize what? PAMPs, pathogen associated molecular pattern. So toll-like receptor found in which part? In these components, neutrophil, macrophage, monocytes, dendritic cells, natural killer cells, complement natural killer cells. So these components contains what? Contains toll-like receptor, and it will recognize BAMPs BAMS, which is pathogen associated molecular pattern, in which part lipoproteins for gram-negative bacteria, flagellin for bacteria, nucleic acid for viruses. So toll-like receptor which are found, toll-like receptors which are found in these cells, neutrophils, macrophage, monocytes, dendritic cells, natural killer cells for innate immunity. These structures, these components contain what? Toll-like receptor will recognize BAMS, pathogen associated molecular bound pattern found on lipoproteins for gram-negative bacteria, flagellin for bacteria, nucleic acid in viruses, leading to what? Leading to activation of nuclear factor kappa B, so toll-like receptor on these cells, neutrophil, macrophage, monocytes, dendritic cells will recognize BAMS, pathogen associated molecular pattern, like what? Like lipoproteins on gram-negative bacteria, flagellin on bacteria, and also nucleic acid in viruses, leading to activation of nuclear factor kappa B, Then here, adaptive immunity, we spoke about it. There is what? There is memory in adaptive. There is no memory in what? In innate. There is memory in adaptive. So memory cells, what's meant by memory cells? It's what? Activated B and T cells, leading to subsequent exposure to previously encountered antigen. So if there is previously encountered antigen, so there is memory cells leading to fast response from activated B cells and T cells, because it was exposed previously. Exposure to previously encountered antigen, leading to activation of memory cells in adaptive immunity, leading to faster response from activated B cells and T cells, leading to stronger, quicker immune response. Then the next one, immune privilege, or called what? Hidden antigen. So what's meant by immune privilege? Immune privilege organs like eye, brain, placenta, and testes, and other tissues. There is suppressive mechanism, suppression of immunity to attack these organs. So during development, there is a suppression of recognition of these organs by the immunity in the body. There is suppression of recognition of these organs. So there is suppressive mechanism, limit that will limit immune response to foreign antigen to avoid damage. So if there is immune recognition for these organs, leading to what? Leading to damage of it in case of inflammation, in case of inflammatory sequelae. But during development, there is hidden antigen means there is no recognition of these organs during development of the body by the immunity in the body. There is no recognition of these organs by the body by suppressive mechanism that will limit immune response to these organs. Why? To avoid damage in inflammatory sequelae. So imagine if there is no response, if there is no mechanism for this immune privilege, if there is no mechanism for it, the body will recognize it in case of inflammation, leading to attack of these organs, eye, brain, placenta, testis, leading to damage of these organs. So immune privilege, hidden antigen, means during development of the body, there are some organs that will not be recognized by immune cells to avoid its damage in inflammatory sequelae. So allograft rejection at these sites less likely. Why? Allograft rejection means what? Transplantation, organ transplantation. So if there is organ transplantation instead of these organs, there is what? Less likely. There is less likely allograft rejection. Why? Because there is no immune recognition for these organs. So allograft rejection at these sites less likely because of immune privilege, because of hidden antigen.